Hello, 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 Talia here. Welcome to the Good Feeling Life. Welcome everybody, welcome seekers far and wide. Today I'm here to talk about intuitive eating, and if I don't know you, my name is Talia, this is the Good Feeling Life, and we're all about creating the life that you want with law of attraction, self-love, intuition, and all that good stuff. So today I'm talking about weight and intuitive eating. So weight loss, struggles with weight, and this is for you if you're curious to learn about how you can lose weight without diets. What intuitive eating is, if you know that you have health goals and you want to bring your relationship with food into balance and don't know how to do it and don't want to diet. It's also for you if you're just a next level seeker and you're always wanting to learn new stuff. You are mastering so many things in your life and finding your light and finding your power, but you have this lurking struggle. And the lurking struggle is with food and with weight and diets and self-love, and you just can't seem to put all the pieces into place. Hopefully today I am here to help you. I also want to say that above there is a download for a free intuitive eating guide. Feel free to grab that. It's really, I put my heart and soul into it. It's like a little mini book. Don't worry, it's not too overwhelming. But it's got all 8 principles and the steps that I used when transitioning from an eating disorder into intuitive eating. It gives you all the steps there, a mantra for each step. And I've had people read it in one go. I've had people read it over and then study each step for a week. That was like one of the coolest things I heard, and now I recommend that. So one beautiful seeker, she decided to focus on 1 through 8 for a week each, and it just absolutely changed her relationship with food just from this free guide. So grab it if you fancy, and I'm excited to be here with you today. Hi Melissa, thanks for the little heart emoji. If you're tuning in, make sure to let me know, and let's get to it. So first of all, before I tell you just a little bit about my story and how I totally get the struggle, I just want to explain first what intuitive eating is. So there's probably a lot of different people talking about this and might describe it slightly different. The way that I describe intuitive eating is getting into a space where you're able to hear from your own body, from a place of self-love, what your body needs instead of what should I eat. So we have a lot of ideas around carbs and around sugar and fat, and should we be vegan, and should we be fasting, and should we be keto, and all these different things. And it's coming from out there. It's coming from what somebody else says that you should do. And often why we get stuck is because we're not coming from an intuitive place. We're not coming from what does my body want today, right now, and giving the attention and the focus and the kudos and the credit to what your body wants. Instead, we label it as wrong and bad or high carb, and we're always going for something else. And we get stuck because, again, just like everything, law of attraction, creating a great life, abundance, all the things, it starts in your mind, it starts in your energy, it starts in your beliefs. So the more that we can listen to our intuition, the more we just get everything comes into balance, all those things, the health, the happiness, the abundance, all that. But this is the way to heal the struggle with food. And hopefully today I'm going to explain it in a way that you can just absolutely have it make sense, and then get that free guide and, take it a step further by reading about it, by revisiting it, practicing it. But I hope today, my intention is to just make it really clear for you what you can do right now to start moving into intuitive eating so that it's not so confusing and you can reach your goals. So Julie says, hi, Julie here. I know I asked you about food a couple of weeks ago and it's really helped me. Sending wishes. Thank you, Julie. Yes, you asked in the Good Feeling Life membership, which is an exciting place. We're doing a group cleanse next month, which is focused on body detox and mind detox. Next month is food month. So if you're interested in this stuff, you might want to join the membership. It's $28 a month, and next month we're focusing all about food. Right now we're talking about limiting beliefs in the membership. So it's a whole month of limiting belief and self-sabotage stuff. So if that interests you, you can always look up thegoodfeelinglife.com/membership and check out what it's about. It's an amazing place to be. So anyways, Intuitive eating, let's get to it. So there I just explained a little bit about what intuitive eating is. In the shortest form, it's allowing the wisdom, the cravings, the desires to come from within instead of coming from out there, someone else telling us what we should eat. We get very confused. We're not eating things we like, and then we're not allowing ourselves to eat the things we're not allowing ourselves to eat the things we do want, and we're eating a bunch of stuff we don't want because we're told that we should, or because it's healthy or something like that. So intuitive eating is bringing the power back into yourself and learning how to understand the language of the body so that you can understand what your body wants and why it might want that, and why chocolate's not bad. If your body wants chocolate, you give it chocolate. So hopefully today I'll make some sense of all of this for you. So that's what intuitive eating is. I'm just going to take a sip of water here. So my story, just a really quick, if you don't know me, my quick story is from the time that I was young, I struggled with weight. My family tends to be on the larger side or so. I thought it was genetics anyways, maybe. But I struggled with weight since the time that I was young, and also self-love from the time that I was young. I was bullied very young for my weight. So those two things combined basically formed up until my mid-20s. My insecurities were self-love, weight, that in the quest to try to lose weight, I absolutely lost myself, and I got really involved in an eating disorder and spent a lot of years really confused, really isolated, really anxious, really in guilt and in shame and in obsession, in so many rules, and overall just very disempowered, just crying all the time, so confused, at such a loss to know where to go and what to do, and what way I should go. And in the quest to try to find myself and trying to lose weight, it was really my entire life that's been my biggest struggle. So it's only in the last, I would say 7 years or so that I've really figured this stuff out. So struggled with weight and an eating disorder for my whole life. It got to the point where I reached a rock bottom. I had tried so many diets. The obsession was more and more and more and more. I was writing everything down. I was calculating everything. I had food journals, and I'd look at skinny celebrities, and I had all these diet books, and it just consumed my everyday life. I would hide it. I would lie about eating. When family would come to town or we had to go out for dinner, it would be like anxiety for a week planning it, and then anxiety after about what I ate. And I always would say I'm going to have the salad, and I'd have the burger, and it was just always a struggle. I felt like I could look at a piece of cake and gain weight, whereas my other friends, oops, I lost weight, and it was like, it was my biggest thing. It was I was so insecure. I hid behind huge hoodies and big clothes. I still love hoodies, but for a different reason. I was always hiding. I hated summer. I didn't like my arms out. I didn't like my legs out. I hated bathing suits. Oops, I forgot my bathing suit. Can't go swimming. That kind of stuff was what I lived in. That was, that was my dark place. And so eventually it came to a point where my eating disorder had spiraled into bulimia. I could no longer restrict. I restricted food for so long, and that caught up with me, and I could no longer restrict. So what started happening is I started eating food again, more than I wanted to, and then purging. So that entered a very that was right towards the end of my eating disorder. It got really bad, and I reached a rock bottom one day. I was raised healthy. We grew our own food. I knew what health was, and I knew that I was so far from healthy. My quest to be healthy had led me so far from healthy that it was like an accumulation of nervous breakdowns, and finally one day sobbing on the floor, couldn't even pick myself up to go to work, and I called a friend, and I just kind of let everything out. I confessed everything. It was all a big secret. I had been drinking in secret to hide my pain, and there was just so many things going on, drugs, diet pills, all this stuff. It all came to a head. And I realized that I couldn't do it anymore. I realized that I had absolutely hit my version of rock bottom, my standard of what I'll allow for myself. And I realized that this was not how I wanted to feel. This was not how I wanted to feel. And as time went on and years went on, I was still feeling the same. In fact, it was getting worse. And it was like this absolute breakdown. And what that did in retrospect is it was, I cried out to the universe. I was just like, I don't know what to do. This has consumed me. I no longer have control. This is not how I want to feel. Help me. And help me. There must be a way. I had this little tiny glimmer of there must be a way to be healthy without diets, without obsession, without having to work out instead of going out with friends, or, pounding the pavement and diet plans. I just knew there had to be a different way, but I didn't know what that was. So that rock bottom moment, it was like a form of prayer. I didn't actually pray in the way you'd think traditional prayer, but it was a breaking down. And this is sometimes just, eating disorders, struggle with food or not, sometimes that's the really valuable part of absolutely reaching rock bottom, is we don't have to reach rock bottom to make change, which is awesome. But sometimes what the rock bottom does is it allows us to admit that we don't have the answers, that what we're doing is not working. Because up until then, I was thinking just another diet, I would finally lose the weight and then I would love myself, or just another fast, just another cleanse, I got to get past Christmas, I just got to get to summer, it was always something else. If I go harder, if I research what this celebrity did, if I buy some sort of cleanse kit in the mail, finally it'll happen. It's got to be just here, just the next thing. And finally it was like, okay, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. This is not working and I'm losing myself. My hair was falling out. My skin was all weird. I was withdrawn. I almost became numb, right? Just that feeling of numb. It's like I guess some people would say part of depression or whatever else, but you just become withdrawn. And that's where I was going. And I realized, holy crap, I am lost and I don't have the answers. So like I said, that rock bottom moment created a prayer, created an opening of what could be next, because this isn't friggin' working and I need some answers. So what that did in that moment is it made me want to go F diets. And for me, it was diets. It was calculating. It was obsession. It was micromanaging. That was the part that I had to go, I can't do it anymore. Like the stress is too much. So over the next couple months, days, weeks that followed, my mentality shifted from that. It's like what really makes change is a desire to make it happen with a realization of the impact of if it doesn't happen. So sometimes we think, like I realized if I don't get help, it's going nowhere good. That was what I mean by that. I had a strong desire to change, but it was finally met with, and if I don't get help, and if I don't do this now, I am lost. I don't have the answers. So that really smacked me in the face, and it made me really want to start to change my mentality towards food, towards my body, all of it. I really wanted to find that way, because in my mind I was fit, I was healthy, I was peaceful with food, I was easygoing, I ate a lot of good food, but in reality I was obsessed and I was in control, and I was, so much negative self-talk about being fat, and like I mentioned, not wanting to be in a bathing suit and not wanting to be in a dress, and it was holding me back. But in my mind I wasn't that person. That best me, that dream me was easy with food, was naturally healthy. So I needed to bridge the gap. So that moment, that rock bottom, it really created the space for me to change my mentality. So today what I'm going to walk you through, and like I said, the free guide that's above, the intuitive eating guide, it outlines the exact steps. Like I went back chronologically in my life to really put the exact steps that I had to go through. So you can get that above if you want. So I'm just going to take you through how it happened, and you can feel free to take notes. There's 4 main points of what I had to go through, and when I finally realized what intuitive eating is. To come back to that, I'd heard about it a lot. But to be honest, I thought intuitive eating, if I don't have the rules, I'm going to end up on the couch with a bag of chips and a fork and a piece of cake and probably never get off. I'll probably just stay there and, lose myself, gain weight. That's what my ego thought intuitive eating was, right? My ego goes like, that doesn't sound like I'll be able to control you if you go there, so probably not going to work. So I just thought I would end up on the couch and never come off, and I would be horribly unhealthy. I'd never work out, and that's not the way it's been. It's actually allowed me to lose 55 pounds and be so at peace with food that it's never a struggle, and I'll get to that a little bit more. But the very first thing that happened when I realized that my push voice, the voice that was trying to control, the voice that was telling me to like, don't eat that, and you should eat that, and you should have had the salad. I realized, first of all, the very first thing was that voice never led me anywhere good. I realized that it pushed, but then I would have a breaking point where I would crumble. I'd either have a nervous breakdown, or I'd binge on food, or I'd just say F it and eat whatever. And so I realized that push voice wasn't working. Like I mentioned, that was part of the rock bottom turning point, was that, holy crap, this is working against me. It's not working for me. And then I had a series of realizations of, if, that whole thing, if I had a friend and I talked to them that way, or if my sister or my spouse or someone was going through a rough time, if I just was saying to them things in the tone of that voice, like, you should just eat that, and why did you do that? That was so stupid, and you're weak, and you're never going to do it. Like, obviously, for personal development and growth, if I love somebody, you would know that wouldn't work. So I just had that realization inward, and I thought, why the hell would it work on me if it obviously wouldn't work on somebody else? So I realized that ego wasn't working. So what I did is I decided to witness it and no longer listen to that voice, which is, pardon me, that itself is an ongoing practice. But what I did in regards to food is I just released the rules. Pardon me. So I started to release the rules with food, because I realized as soon as I thought you shouldn't have fresh bread because it's carbs, or you shouldn't have dessert tonight, like, I realized it was that voice that was stressing me out, and I had already acknowledged that it wasn't working. So I decided to let go of the rules and really just go, okay, if I'm going to do this for life, if this is going to be something that I'm going to be relaxed with food, I'm going to find my way naturally, get to my ideal body in a way that feels good, I've got to learn to trust myself. I don't know how these realizations came, but that's what rock bottom, that's what transformation and intuition is you get these messages and you go, okay, I'm just going to try this on because it sounds wise. So I let go of the rules, and ultimately I gave myself permission to eat what I wanted. This took a lot of trust, and you might be sitting there going like, oh, that doesn't even sound comfortable right now. But it takes going, well, if I can't trust me, and I'm trusting Kim Kardashian's diet and the zone and the low carb and the this and that, I've already done that. That didn't work. Again, I had acknowledged that didn't work. So what's left? I have to learn to trust myself. So I let go of the diet rules and learned to trust myself with food. So day one of this new mindset, I literally just went, what do I feel like eating? And I just ate it. And again, you might be thinking, well, if I did that, I would just have the burger. And just so that your ego doesn't dominate the rest of this important training, when we think if I let go of the rules, I just eat this and I just eat that and I just eat that, you just got to go there and think, okay, day one, you eat a burger and a sundae and some chips and whatever, right? Day two, you have pizza and I don't know, whatever, fried stuff and whatever it is you've been holding off. Day three, you have ice cream, you have this. By day four, your body and your mind are going to be going, I want a salad, or I want something real. And so you got to trust that. That's the trust part, is that eventually, and it's very quickly, you know the feeling when you've had too much sugar after Halloween, or you've had too much alcohol and the thought of a drink makes you feel sick, or you've had too much fried food and you go like, oh no, you know that feeling that your body will give you a message eventually. So this is part of the trust piece. This is so big. So realize that if you let go of the rules, your body will guide you where to go. And you just got to attach. Be like, I don't even know what that's going to look like. I don't know what that's going to feel like. But I got to trust that our body is, has that intuition, has that peace for a reason. It will tell me when I've had too much of this or had too much of that. Stomach sensations, a headache. You'll naturally just be like, oh, I don't want anything else sweet. Like, no thanks. That will happen. You've experienced that before with things. So I trusted and I gave myself permission. That was ultimately step one. This is something that, all of these are such big concepts that if we were to work together, or you were to take something like the New Leaf program that walks you through this process, we focus on it for a while, right? But for the sake of just being alive, I'm going to move on to number two. So number two was not beating myself up. I made a pact. And I lived in negative self-talk. I got to be straight up with that. It was all about what should I eat, and you look fat, and like summer's coming, you can't look like this. Seeing pictures of myself, not wanting people to take pictures. I lived in that, truthfully, that was my life. So to say, I'm not going to beat myself up, that was bold. But I realized, again, to take you back in steps, I realized what I was doing was not working, and I desperately wanted health. I wanted the body I wanted, and it's like the risk to blossom is more than the risk to stay stuck, right? So I was going out on limbs. It was Limb Town. I was ready to do this. So I was like, I'm just not going to beat myself up. I'm going to own my choices. If I want chocolate, I'm going to do everything in my power to go just own it. This is delicious chocolate. This feels good. And that's still something that I do all the time. When I eat chocolate, I go, good thing this is making me healthier. This feels awesome. And I know it sounds crazy, but just trust me. The more you're with me in this journey, the more you'll understand that like what we think about our food and our own body and all of that is what creates it. So more on that later. But I decided to not beat myself up, own my choices. Just own my choices and not play it back of why did you have the bread or why did you have the dessert or you're weak. I had to really exercise that muscle and not beat myself up, because what I thought, and this is why my company now, my business is called the Big Feeling Life, the Good Feeling Life, is because I thought, how do I want to feel? So I'm going to own my choices and not beat myself up. And if I acknowledge before that this is not how I want to feel, stuck in diets, not how I want to feel, well, how do I want to feel? I want to feel freedom with food. Okay, let's start with giving yourself freedom with food and see how that goes. I can go back to the diets, I can go back to the obsession if this doesn't work, but let's start with seeing what feeling good and being free with food is about. So that is including not beating myself up, because part of my best feeling life, my best self, is not the negative self-talk. I want my self-talk to be like, yeah, you're owning this. Like, look at this life. Look what you're doing. Look at these great people. I'm so thankful. I'm so grateful. That can't happen at the same time as an obsession with how horrible I am and how gross I am. And I couldn't do it anymore. I was so tired. So I decided I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm just going to do the best I can. And I'm not going to beat myself up if I beat myself up. I'm just going to do the best that I can to not beat myself up. So far, my very first step was letting go of the rules and giving myself permission to eat what I wanted. So you see how that hand in hand goes with not beating myself up. Because if I started beating myself up, then that wouldn't mean I'm giving myself permission. So that was my next step, owning my choices. I'm going to have dessert tonight, or I'm going to order the burger, or I'm going to have a beer, and just see how good feeling thoughts, maybe that will help me feel better overall, which will help me make better choices. And that is my business, is showing you how you can create a good feeling life so everything can come together. So in relation to food, that's what it happened, is what do I want to feel like? What do I want? Well, I want to be free with food, so I'm going to give myself that permission. And then the third thing that I started doing is I realized I was really in self-heal mode, I'm telling you, and that's why I'm passionate to help you guys with it. But I realized that I had to start learning about food, just even a little bit. This was before I was a nutritional consultant, and I realized that I was scared of carbs or sugars. I had these ideas that they were evil, that that's what was making me fat, and I realized that I thought fat was making me fat. I thought carbs was making me fat. I thought sugar was making me fat. So when I'm trying to give myself permission, it was tough when I had all these beliefs about all this stuff. So I honestly one day Googled the role of carbohydrates in the body, or why do we need carbs, or whatever. And I started learning about how carbs are preferred fuel, and how our heart and our brain and every muscle in our body needs carbs to thrive, and the role of carbs with protein, and how sugars are important and what kind of sugars. And from a more peaceful place, I started to actually learn about food, because I realized I didn't even know much about food. I just was obsessed with it, and I judged it a lot, but I didn't really know what it actually did. So I just learned really short form, but that started my passion for wanting to be educated with food, and eventually went on to become a nutritional consultant and help other people figure out health and figure out food and how to make it easy and make sense. But so I just started learning about food. I really encourage this. It's really neat to go look at why we need fat. And when you start learning about how we need it for our brain and we need it for our heart and for our skin and for our organs and everything, it's just so interesting. It makes you want to eat some raw almonds or have some olive oil. Like, you start to have appreciation for what food actually does so that it can take away the stress. So the fourth part was learning about food, primarily carbs, fats, sugars. I think those were the things that I had the biggest beliefs around that I didn't even really know anything about. So that's what I did. And then the fourth step, which is something that I practice now all the time, is trusting. So if you've worked with me, if you've taken the Accessing the Inner Guide course, which is all about finding your intuition, you learn that your intuition is that little voice that seems to be all-knowing. It's there all the time, but it takes us wanting to tune into it. So I started asking myself, basically it was trusting my body was the fourth step, which these all go together, but I started trusting in what my body wanted. So if one day I was really craving like fresh baked bread or nachos or something, instead of going, no, that's bad, I went, I wonder why I'm craving that. And that little switch, I started hearing my intuitive voice come forward more. Sometimes I'd hear almost like comfort, like you need comfort, you've had a stressful week, or you're super tired, which is why you're craving carbs to try to give you energy. It's because I'd kind of built these steps on top of each other. And I started trusting in why I wanted to eat the things. So if I remember one time someone baked me a pie and I thought like, oh, that's great. Or it was later, like that night, I was like, oh, I want some of that pie. And I kind of heard like, you can't have pie, it's nighttime. And I was like, no, we've gone through this voice. I'm going to give myself unconditional permission. I'm not going to judge myself. Why do I want this pie? Just curious. And I just heard, I heard comfort, and it was a gesture of love. And so I went, oh yeah, my friend made this for me. That's why I want to enjoy the pie. So I started inquiring more. It wasn't just bad. It wasn't because I was weak and I was broken and I was destined to be fat. It was like, oh, I really want to enjoy this gesture of love, and it's comfort. I'm going through a lot. So you might start noticing that you crave things around your period that might give you comfort, or in times of transition, you're moving, or you've broken up, or you're in a new relationship, or big things are going on. You might start to notice you're gravitated to certain foods. And as you lessen the judgment, you can then start to make sense of it. So now how it looks in my life is if I'm all of a sudden craving tons of carbs, or I'm like endlessly hungry some days, thanks for the heart, I will inquire and I go, why am I endlessly hungry? Or why am I craving carbs? And then I'll hear either like something like you're stressed, or you didn't, one really popular one for me is you didn't eat enough yesterday. I'll actually hear my intuitive voice say that, and that's how I hear my intuition is I more or less, pretty much always, there's different ways I hear it, but it's pretty much a voice. And I realized that yesterday I was so busy in the middle of the day that I went a bunch of hours without eating much. And so today I was extra hungry. So instead of just blaming myself, instead of saying I'm weak, I'm hungry again, it's like when you step back, you go, yeah, you're hungry again, because you're human, you're a machine. It's like, oh, my car needs gas again, my car is weak, right? We don't think like that. It's just the mechanics of it. It burned through its fuel and now it needs more. But when it comes to food, we judge ourselves for what kind of fuel and all this stuff up in our head. And it makes everything else really foggy. So coming back to how intuitive eating works is you go through these steps in your own way, in your own style, and you start just acknowledging why you're maybe craving what you're craving. Just ask. You don't have to even know the answer. It's not even like there's one genius answer. It's just, why may I be craving this? What's this about? And your body will start to answer. The more you give it chances, the more it'll answer. So on a day-to-day basis, I go, what do I want? I never now, because I'm in where I am, I've done this work, but I never think, what should I eat? And that was always what I thought. It was never what do I want to eat, because I was scared of what I wanted to eat. It was always what should I eat. Now it's always what do I want. And even today's my work day, and I'm going to go and take myself out for lunch after because I want to. That makes me feel good, and it's a good place I want to go, and I want to get this particular dish and I want to enjoy it. So that's the place we want to move to, is what do I want? And then honoring that, not judging that, maybe even inquiring a little bit about why you might want it. And that starts the process of breaking free from the rules. And then you start to realize that all these diets, you download this plan that's got 1,800 calories, a quarter cup of broccoli, and a half a cup of rice, that leaves no room for intuitive voice. It doesn't matter if it says you're supposed to eat this on a day. It doesn't take into account what you ate yesterday, how emotional you're feeling, if you've had, if you're on your period, if there's something else going on, if you ate less in the morning, or if you're going to eat more tomorrow, or if you're, it doesn't take into account anything. So, this diet plan, theoretically, you're supposed to eat the same thing whether you've gone for a run or not, or whether you're stressed or not, or whether you've just had a cold or not. And that's not true. Our intuitive voice guides us to what we need daily. It's resetting hour by hour, day by day. It is guiding you towards what you need. If I take flax oil because I eat vegan and I get good omega-3s from flax oil. So if I take my flax oil in the morning, I notice that I don't crave as high fat things in the rest of the day. So a couple high fat things that I like to eat is almond butter or nuts, or popcorn made with coconut oil. It's not that it's really high fat, but it's just got oil in it. But I notice if I have my flax oil in the morning, I don't want those things like I usually do the rest of the day. So there's an ebb and a flow, and as we start to pay attention, our body won't guide us to chips day after day after day after day, or nothing but fried food, nothing but ice cream. You might do it for a couple days to get it out of your system, but very quickly, if you're going through these other steps of just gentle inquiring, you'll notice that it'll be more in moderation. And then when you enjoy it, you enjoy it. So I really hope that this has helped you. There's so much more that goes into this, into in between how to practice this, but it's really, these are the key principles. And it's just taking in this mentality and practicing it. So I recommend that you download the Intuitive Eating Guide above. If you've tuned in the later half of this, I mentioned that what One Beautiful Woman did is she went through it and she spent 1 week on each step. So she really started mastering the letting go of rules, giving herself permission. Going a week into that, there's mantras provided with each step if you download the guide. And she did that week by week. And by week 8, because there's 8 steps, she said her relationship with food was completely different just from the free guide. So take it in like anything. This isn't a one-stop wonder. This is you trying it on, practicing it, wanting to do it a different way, because you maybe realize that how you've been doing it is leading you to struggle. So the first step, like I very much did, is I need help. I need a new way. I'm open to new possibilities. So as you download the guide and look at it, be open to new possibilities. Be open to this really being the way. Doesn't it make sense? When we tap into our own power and our own knowledge, we can become that fit, healthy person at ease with food, less allergies, less pain, balanced cholesterol. We can become that person. If you have that person in your mind as who you truly are, or your best self, or your goal person, the reason why that image is planted in your mind is because the universe is showing you your best version of you, the you to strive to be, the you to consistently keep working towards and moving into. And getting this intuitive eating piece of the puzzle in place is a massive part of this healing and this moving into your best self. So I recommend that you download the guide. It's incredible. I also have a program called the New Leaf program that is all exactly about this. It's a 5-week self-study program. It's on the website as well, and I can put the link below. But take in these principles, really entertain that another diet, another should, another bunch of rules will never save you. You have the answer. You are incredible. There are foods that are healthy that you already like. It's just a refocusing, less sabotage, less negative self-talk, more allowing, more forgiving, more love. You know love's the answer. So let's bring love to your food, love to your ideas around food, to your body, and let's really make that change, because I know you're doing it for real this time. I know that you've probably, like me, been through hell and back in some way. Maybe it's with food and health, maybe it's just life circumstances, but love is always the answer. Intuition is always the answer. So take this in. I wish you so much luck. If you need help, you reach out to me. Comment below if you have any questions, and stay close to the Good Feeling Life, because this is a huge, passionate part of my business, my offerings, my talks, also what has allowed me to find myself. This was the way I lost myself, was food and diets. This was the way I lost myself and broke me open to my light, to law of attraction, to this spiritual connection, to the flow of abundance and health and happiness. This was the thing for me. So if this is a struggle for you, that's a good sign. That means that this can be also your portal to finding your light, to finding your inner guide and your worth and all the results you could possibly ever want. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I love you so much. Have a great day.